In 1995, Donald Trump and his siblings began to take ownership of most of their father's real estate empire while avoiding hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes.
Donald Trump and Tom Morello could not have had more opposite childhoods.
The main thing that politicized me as I was the only black kid in an all-white town. So I didn't have to read about injustice or the feelings that the underdog might have. I got it beaten into me on the playground.
With Trump growing up rich and Morello sharing his experiences.
Same thing with the unions.
That's right.
They get their little 5%, they get another 2%, they get another 3%, 4%. Then all of a sudden they're making more money than the people that own the company.
Donald Trump, as we know, is no fan of unions.
They've all been, orchestrated plans to affect some particular change, normally labor issue related, and whether it was against Nike or against Guess, that you stand with the workers who are trying to stop sweatshop abuses or stop abuses of worker or union busting efforts in hotels. And by my small role in it is to provide a little bit of extra news coverage and notoriety to the event by, being in the middle of the street, and it gets covered by Rolling Stone.
Again, polarizing differences at play here. One supports them and is on the picket line, while the other tries to stop them at all costs.
You had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
On the events in Virginia during Donald Trump's presidency.
What did you think after Charlottesville?
I was not the least bit surprised. I mean, the reason why the racists were able to take their hoods off on the streets of Charlottesville is because the racists took their hoods off in the Oval Office. The Trump regime has emboldened white supremacy and racism, which is always there and prevalent. Racism is absolutely as much a part of America as baseball and apple pie. But now you see it more actively with tiki torches marching the streets because of the man we have in office.
Morello spoke truth to power on the matter.
And Rage Against the Machine guitarist Tom Morello is raging against Republican vice presidential candidate Paul Ryan. Ryan lists the rap metal group as one of his favorite bands. And in a Rolling Stone opinion piece today, Morello says Ryan's message runs counter to what the band stands for. Morello supported the Occupy Wall Street movement and is well known for supporting union rights.
It's true. Paul Ryan did indeed say he likes Rage. Here was Morello's response.
Paul Ryan is a fan of Rage Against the Machine.
Paul Ryan is a fan of Rage Against the Machine. Hitler was a vegan. What's your point?
Okay.
Which was fantastic.
Many large corporations that are making billions of dollars in profits and not paying a nickel in taxes to, in fact, start paying their fair share of taxes.
And on the Bernie Sanders effect.
The thing that Sanders did that I think is even more admirable, and while he may have fallen short of getting the nomination, he is in some ways has a Rage Against the Machine vibe in that he's inspiring millennials to think outside the box. I know 22, 23-year-olds who are now looking up Zinn and Chomsky because of Sanders. That's their entry drug. In the 90s, it was maybe Rage Against the Machine that was their entry drug to a world of ideas that are outside the ones that are force-fed you on the nightly news.
Morello brings up some very fair points here.
Targeting MAGA supporters.
Right, and I think that it's imperative that we start to define what they mean when they say MAGA agenda. What does that actually mean? What does that look like? Does that mean lower crime? Does that mean actually secure borders? Does that mean a better economy? Because why would you, maybe he is raging against the machine if that's what he's actually asking for.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that song, the original song, was actually a post 9/11 song because the band at the time was upset about what was happening overseas in the Iraq War and all that. But they're probably their biggest hit, right? But now to change it to just continue to make it political, you're just alienating people.
Oh, the irony. Morello would hilariously clap back, writing 3 simple words. Is that so?
I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it.
Trump would even praise how Elon Musk deals with unions. Tom Morello, meanwhile.
We shut down the road to LA, Century Park to LAX because the hotels there was a big union busting movement going on there. And so then I'm later in front of the judge, and the judge is explaining to me like I'm a toddler how this is not the way that change occurs in our country. And I'm like, well, what about Martin Luther King? He was arrested, more times than you are years old right now, and that is one of the ways that you change the world is by putting your body on the gears of history, and you make them stop in a particular place, in a particular time, to make a particular point. As Frederick Douglass famously said, power concedes nothing without demand. It never did, and it never will.
We're going to build the wall. We have no choice. We have no choice. Build that wall. 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 Who's going to pay for the wall? 100%.
On Trumpism, Morello has another thoughtful response.
Of course, Trump dominates the headlines, that he's an awful person. He is a distraction. The systemic problems that gave rise to Trump are at the core of what's going on. And it existed during the Obama administration, the Bush administration, the Clinton administration. The drive to enrich the 0.001% at the expense of working class and middle class people is what has driven people to a level of economic anxiety, both in the United States and in the UK, which has caused a fertile field for demagogues to use the oldest trick in the book, which is racist divide and rule, and to separate the working class. And it's the Mexicans' fault. It's the Russians' fault. It's the immigrants' fault. It's not their fault. Like any undocumented worker and a white working class person in Alabama have much more in common about their needs for themselves and their families with each other than they do with Donald Trump. If you don't recognize the underlying problems, there'll only continue to be this kind of division between right and left, between white and brown, as opposed to the division there should be, which is between us and them.
I am your president of law and order, professional anarchists, violent mobs, arsonists, looters, criminals, rioters, Antifa, dangerous thugs.
You can get all the money you want out of politics, and there are still imperialist demands and economic demands of inequality required by the system under which we live. That's not going to go away. Yes, you'll have a better chance of your Democratic, state senator not being bought and paid for by whether it's the NRA or ExxonMobil, and it's a worthy endeavor. I think you should do it, and I'm on your side. That's what I meant to say. I don't want to take any air out of that excellent balloon. But I don't think that's the only. I don't think that's the only issue that you have to if you really I aim high. You know what I mean? I aim high. I'm like get the world you really want to live in. Don't settle for the one that you might. Don't aim to lose. Don't aim to lose. And so, while I'm a better guitar player than I am an organizer, I've accepted that. I've tried both. Through my vocation, it's about, through the poetry and through the music, about really aiming high, and don't settle for any world other than the one you really want, and fight for that one.
Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.